Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Force, a Puerto Rican podcast where our culture, stories, and perspectives shape how we see the galaxy far, far away and frame how we explore Star Wars. We are having our pre-Mando and Grogu episode. What has come before? Irresponsible speculation, everything to expect of the upcoming Mandalorian and Grogu premiere. But before we get started, we would like to welcome to the podcast for the first time, friend of the channel, Alex Maxwell from Children of the Watch. Welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you, guys. I love Triad of the Force.
Oh, no,
Big
thank you.
fan.
We love you.
Yeah, I am so honored to be on your podcast for the pre-Mando and Grogu recap, speculation. This is going to be, I think, a super fun episode.
I think so
Agreed.
too, you know, and we were talking right before we started recording about how this is a little more light of an episode because we didn't have to, you know, as much as we love The Age of Maul, which came to an epic conclusion a little over a week ago. You know, it's still homework. You know, we have to run home, watch the episode, take notes, rewatch it. It was a lot of, you know, running around, but for Mando, we can just relax, go with the flow, sit on our Razor Crests and just like cruise by as Purgles, you know, swim beside us in hyperspace.
I could close my eyes right now and just recap every episode for you. I mean, like that's how many times I've seen these episodes. They're so embedded into my brain. It's second nature to me at this point. So yeah, we don't need any notes. Who needs notes? So we got this. We got
nerds.
this.
Nerds need notes. But all kidding aside, before we get things going with our Mando retrospective prospective discussion, we always like to get to know a first timer on our podcast. You know, Alex, you and I met each other in person for the first time at the Andor roundtables at Lucasfilm HQ. So this is kind of a mini Group A reunion.
Yeah, let's go.
So that's great. We still need a full reunion with Blast Points and Star Wars Explained.
Yeah.
But until that happens, you know, we have this one, and it's gonna be a good one. So before we get going, why don't you tell us a little bit about, you know, about who you are, how you got together with your co-host, how Children of the Watch started, like what your mission is, because it's changed a little bit, right? You started being kind of like a Mando focused thing, and now you're encompassing you know, all of Star Wars. So tell us a little bit about that journey you guys been on.
Yeah, so you know, I've been a lifelong Star Wars fan. I can remember back when, you know, I went to work with my dad, and he, you know, to incentivize me to be good at work with him, he's like, "Hey, I'll take you to Walmart and get you a toy if you're really good today." And so I was really good that day. And we went to Walmart, and like, you know, we were going down the aisle. I didn't know what to get. There was no Power Rangers there. So I was like, well, I don't know what to get. And he picked out like this 2-person, like Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader thing for me. And was like, hey, we have this movie at home. Why don't we get this? And then we'll go watch the movie when we get home. So I remember that so vividly. And it was Empire Strikes Back. That was the first movie I saw, of course. Like,
whoa.
Yeah, I know.
That's a dark way to start.
Right into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's like, whoa.
But I remember even like the colors, the blue and the oranges so vividly as a kid. Like there was just something that stood out to me about The Empire Strikes Back. And so I've been in love with Star Wars ever since. And then met my co-host, Mac Lacey, in college. And it was in the lead up to The Force Awakens. We had really connected then because a mutual friend had got tired of us just talking about Star Wars to him all the time. He's like, "Hey, you both love Star Wars. How about you guys?"
date.
Yeah, exactly. So
do something about it.
exactly. That's exactly what we started. So we just started like we swapped Aftermath and Lost Stars. We were speculating about what could, you know, the movie be, all those sort of things. So we were kind of already doing the podcast before we started recording.
Okay.
But when
Back in my day, it was just talking.
we had no mics. So when The Mandalorian was announced, like that first image came out, I text Mac and I was like, hey, what if we did like an after show on The Mandalorian and just like made that our thing? And like, we're just going to focus on this aspect. And we had no idea if The Mandalorian was even going to work, if it was going to be good or not.
Right.
And so we had launched the podcast in anticipation of Star Wars Celebration because we knew that there was going to be a trailer when Star Wars Celebration happened. So really our first full episode was a trailer breakdown of The Mandalorian. And then we started rewatching all the Mandalorian stuff from Rebels and Clone Wars, then lead up to season 1. And then thankfully The Mandalorian was just absolutely incredible.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
we were doing good. It was so much fun just to break down the episodes as the Mandalorian watch. But when they announced after season 2 that they were going to be doing even more Star Wars shows, we kind of rebranded our name to Children of the Watch because we thought we can cover all of it that way. And so we've been able to do that with Star Wars television. And we've got some big news actually today about some Star Wars television stuff. And so it's been a fun journey. It's been so much fun just talking about The Mandalorian and all the other Star Wars TV shows. And now we're going to have to kind of expand into the movie universe now too, and figure out how to do detailed breakdowns of a movie that we don't have access to all the time. So that's kind of our origin story. And we love all of Star Wars, and we believe in celebrating the things we love instead of pointing out the things that we don't. So that's kind of our MO.
Yeah,
I think that's great. I mean, this is kind of what we do here too, right? Like it's natural, right, to find things that you might not vibe with, but it's important. You have to focus on the good stuff. Life's too short, to just like waste time on negativity. It's just like why? What's the point? Yeah. So really, really good that like there's a group of us that are trying to escape
stay positive.
Escape the tentacles of the fandom
and
menace
actually have
clickbait.
fun with this. Yeah,
it's meant to be fun, and I think that's at the end of the day, especially The Mandalorian. Right.
Oh yeah.
So,
which let's get to it. Well, I mean, no, actually, before we get to it, you mentioned some news.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that because a symptom of the streaming wars is that everyone thought that streaming was going to be it, and everyone, including Disney, doubled down on what streaming was going to be, and that's why we got Mandalorian, we got Obi-Wan Kenobi, we got Ahsoka, we got like all these shows that kind of came out of the floodgates, Andor, obviously, and all of a sudden, all the corporations are like, actually, we're losing money on this streaming model, and so these live-action shows have been drying up. Shows are now like The Mandalorian transitioning into films. Less productions are occurring, but there's one that has been announced that we've been expecting for a while. And even though like I keep saying the back in my day joke because I feel so old today after it was revealed to me that A Knight's Tale is 25 years old, which I refuse to accept. We used to have seasons every year, but now it's just like you're lucky to be alive if the next season of your favorite show comes out.
That is very true.
Like how many years have you been waiting for House of the Dragon at this point?
Right.
It's
right.
So,
how long have we been waiting for the books to end?
Well, so
we can get an actual fulfilling ending. I don't think we're going to get that ever.
Yeah, you need to accept it's not going to.
I have hope that he's lying to everyone.
I've read some conspiracy theories online, and they're interesting, and I hope they're true for everyone's sake.
I want to live in my hopes, not my fears. So.
Correct.
Yes.
It's better.
Stay positive.
It's better to be
always.
Yeah, always.
It's better to be a fool with hope than a curmudgeon with hate in their soul. But Alex, why don't you tell us a little bit of what that news is for everyone that's listening?
So there was an event today called Disney Upfront, and they announced that Ahsoka is actually coming early 2027. I think a lot of us were expecting it in the fall or late fall of 2026. But Dave Filoni a few weeks ago, or I guess a few days ago at the mall Shadow Lord finale, had talked about to Ash Crossan that they were still working on the VFX. And to me, I was like, ooh, if they're still doing the VFX, it's not ready yet. Like we're not getting it yet. And so I kind of was expecting this announcement soon. And it makes sense to me. I want them yeah, we've waited this long already. What's just a few more months?
Yeah,
And
just perfect it. Yeah, rather than give us something unfinished. Yeah, I agree.
100%. And it's also going to be during the 50th anniversary year. It makes sense to have so much momentum, even though Starfighter's not connected to Ahsoka, but just like the momentum of Ahsoka leading into Celebration and leading into Starfighter. You know, there's just so much good stuff that's going to be happening next year. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Nani, what are your expectations for Ahsoka? Are you disappointed that it's going to come out a little later than maybe we had expected? You know, or this is not even on your radar?
It's kind of a mixed bag because I feel like sometimes, and we've talked about it, sometimes when you get too much Star Wars at the same time, you kind of, it's a little, especially as content creators, it's hard to keep up with everything. So you don't necessarily get to appreciate it as much because we're not just content creators, we're fans. So we don't necessarily want it to feel like a job. We want to actually enjoy the content. And sometimes when you get too much of it, also it kind of, I feel like it kind of gets watered down a little bit. And sometimes you miss some of the greatness that is happening. And I think right now we're coming off such a great high from Maul Shadow Lord. I think most people were not expecting for it to be as good as it was. And we can talk about the fact that we're probably going to get, the other half of this sooner than we were expecting. But, coming off of that to the premiere of Mandalorian and Grogu, which is the first, actual film released in the movie theaters for Star Wars since Rise, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of momentum. So I feel like maybe Ahsoka wouldn't have gotten as much attention as we wanted it to get coming off of that. And I do kind of feel like I want to rewatch some of Rebels and some of Clone Wars to get back into, the Ahsoka feels. And Josbando, who is a huge fan of the animation, like as when Maul came out, he literally started kind of going back into Clone Wars just to watch Maul episodes. And he was, you know what? I'm just going to watch the whole thing. And I'm going to watch Rebels again.
Yeah.
So,
it's never a bad thing.
It's always amazing to get to do that. And I think to give Ahsoka a little bit more time to get everybody like reinvested again, maybe some people now that got into Maul that hasn't gotten into the animated shows before. And now because of the introduction of Maul into that part of the universe, as strong as it came, maybe they would want to go back and watch it. Maybe they will get into Ahsoka. So I think it's an introduction for a lot of fans to get into Star Wars again. And I love, people that get into it for weird reasons to Star Wars. The first thing I watched was this, really. Yeah. So I love it. And like we were saying, if the VFX is not ready yet, I mean, we want to give that show everything it's got. I honestly wasn't that excited about season 1 because, to be honest, I honestly, and I hate myself for it, but I still kind of struggle with Rosario Dawson.
Live your truth. Live your truth. Don't hate yourself. Live it.
There's something about her as Ahsoka that just doesn't really translate for me from what I know. And obviously, she was a way younger version, in the animated shows and everything. Not so much in Rebels, but there's something about it. Taloro Rosario Dawson, it's not your fault. I apologize. But something about it did not work for me that much. But season 1 of Ahsoka was so good. I mean, Ezra was fantastic. Bringing back Anakin was so great. It makes me kind of sad that the version that we get of Ahsoka in the flashbacks resonates more with me to what Ahsoka should be in live action than Rosario. But, I don't know. I'm really excited to see where they go with this show. So I think, to release something that is unfinished would be a disservice to the show. So if it takes a little bit longer, I think it'll be worth it. And I'm still excited about it. So,
I mean, and there's the other point of discussion for Ahsoka is that hopefully, right, knock on wood, we won't have a writers and actors strike, which I think was a thing that really brought down a lot of the enthusiasm and pomp and circumstance, right? Around Ahsoka season 1, because there was a lot of channels that didn't do coverage for the show in solidarity.
And even
with the
we
strikes.
felt kind of bad about doing it, but we didn't want to let the show get ignored either. So it was kind of like
it was hard. It was tough. It was a tough decision.
I don't remember what we did. I know that we recorded as it came out, but I think we released it after, or we had like the the donation links, and
Yeah.
I don't even remember like
Yeah.
what we did. We tried to like find a good happy medium where we were
to be
supporting
respectful,
the strikes,
but at the same time not
correct.
let the
yeah.
show get ignored because so hopefully we won't have that conflict of interest this time around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, season 2, you know, will have the pomp and circumstance that it deserves because, you know, Ahsoka, Dave Filoni's favorite character and a lot of the fandom's favorite character. And this is a storyline that I think everyone is extremely excited to see continue because we're going to, you know, get some mystical stuff with Mortis.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
we got some Thrawn versus
I love when
Avar.
Star Wars gets weird.
Yes, me too.
I love it. Yes.
So we're gonna
Get as weird
so we're
as
gonna
you
go
can.
there.
Yes, please.
So very excited for Ahsoka. But you know, within that same Mandoverse that Ahsoka inhabits nowadays, it wouldn't have existed without a backdoor pilot in season 2 in the episode called "The Jedi" with Michael Biehn and Diana Lee as the magistrate. But even before season 2 and that backdoor pilot for Ahsoka, we had this thing that, you know, no one really knew what it was going to be back in 2019. Let's, you know, a simpler times before COVID.
A simpler time.
When or was it during COVID actually? No, November 12th. It was right before. Right
Season
before.
2 is during COVID.
Where, you know, we got this thing. People were talking about this volume. People were talking about this guy, Pedro Pascal, under a helmet. And no one knew what a baby Yoda was. It's like, what does Star Wars look like as a TV series? Is it going to feel like a film? Like, what is this? What is it? Jon Favreau, he's the guy that did, you know, Iron Man, like doing like, what, I think
in
that
Star
we
Wars,
all,
what is he doing? What's happening?
right. I think no one really knew what to expect, but everyone was very excited. So let's go back to 2019 and
I'm back, baby. Here we are.
and see how we felt, and not just see how we felt in the expectation towards the show, but like looking back now on, you know, like how we think how the show has aged and matured with all this time and like a post-COVID reality. So Alex, as our leader of the Children of the Watch today, why don't we start with you? I mean, you're wearing your Mandalorian Grogu hat, so it's only fair, right? Tell us a little bit about your Mando experience leading up to season 1 and what does season 1 mean to you?
Yeah, so we were a little nervous leading up to the first season because, you know, we had built a whole show around a show that hadn't come out yet. So, we were really hoping that it was really good. And, but, you know, based on what we had seen from the trailer and just everything that we had been hearing about, it's like, I was pretty confident that they were going to make something really special because this is going to be the first live action television show for Star Wars. You know, this is what was launching Disney Plus. And so, you know, it launched back in November of 2019. And I remember when it did because I'm a teacher. And so I was like, man, this is going to come out and I'm going to be at school and I'm not going to be able to watch it. Right. Like, so do I take the day off? It snowed that day. It snowed early. And so it was perfect. It was perfect. I was like, oh, I don't even have to go to school. And so right. And so Disney Plus appeared on the screen, you log in. And I remember for a lot of people, it crashed. But like just watching The Mandalorian for the very first time was such like almost a religious experience for me of like, this is more than what I could have imagined. Just like even from the get-go when he's on the ice planet with the Mythrol and just going in there and banging up the cantina and finding everyone. It was just so cool. And then to see the giant walrus and, you know, we're starting Jon Favreau's love of kaiju in the very first episode. It was just so cool. But then to where it goes in the end, and it ends with a baby Yoda. Literally, it is
Like,
a
what is
baby
that?
version. What is going on? And I had no idea that whole aspect was part of the show, right? Like we had no idea that that was gonna be in the show. We just thought it was gonna be The Mandalorian, and so it makes me excited. I'm not expecting like huge revelations in this movie, but I do think that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have some surprises in store for us for the movie. Just because, I mean, think back to the very first episode of this, right? Of like, we had no idea about Grogu. And look at us now. There's a whole movie with him as the lead star.
True. Nani, how about you? What was your experience for Mando season 1?
Yeah, so I it took me a really long time to watch it. Me and Husbando were like really reticent to get Disney Plus,
Oh,
and
that's fair.
I'm pretty sure we
It was
didn't
so
even.
cheap back then. Oh,
Of course,
so
I know it was
now
ridiculous.
It
It was
was.
ridiculous.
it was like
Más
it was
esa hasta la
$1
vida.
back
Yeah,
then.
I I remember my reaction was kind of the opposite. Like there was so much hype behind it that I thought there's no way it's that good. So I'm not feeling it, and too much work. And I was like, I don't have time for this right now. I don't think
Yeah.
we were covering season 1 for the podcast.
I
I
don't
think we
think we
started
had the
covering for
podcast yet.
season 2. Yeah, I don't think we had the
we started
podcast
covering
yet.
season
So
2. Yeah.
so when we decided that we were gonna do the podcast, it's like there's no way we can't talk about Mando, and
Mhm.
season 2's coming up, so you have to watch it. I was like, oh, okay, I'll watch it. And then season 1, just from the opening scenes, me and Husbando were like, what have we been missing this
Yeah.
whole time? The hype train is not incorrect. This
Mhm,
this
mhm.
is amazing what they're doing. And it's so Star Wars without having to rely on all the known characters. And it's such a great introductory show for people who
Mhm.
don't necessarily care about Star Wars. And then it
Yeah.
just makes
Very
you
much
feel
so.
part of the universe from the get-go. And it was just so well written. You get pulled in right away. And then obviously you see that back then Baby
that guy,
Yoda,
yeah.
now Grogu, who is like the cutest thing. I still don't know how to get to
So
pull off
much
that every time
confusion
he
created,
walks.
Yeah.
It's just it's insane. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I so adore that they went with puppetry when they had failed so much every time they go to CGI, which is
Yeah.
one of the reasons I'm worried, because I'm seeing a lot of CGI in the trailers for the film. So
Yeah,
I'm
with the
hoping they
Hutts.
can.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
look good though. They look good.
Yeah, but I'm a bigger fan of the puppets. So
Right. True,
so we'll
true.
see. We'll see how that goes. But as it was happening, I was like, I can't believe it took us so long to watch this show. And then, after that, we were all in. We started, covering it for the podcast and talking about all the nuances and how the characters and I love how talking with other people about Star Wars in general just gives you new perspectives.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe sometimes something that I maybe didn't even pick up on, or something I didn't enjoy. It's like, wait,
Yeah.
if somebody else did, it opens your eyes to it, or a different interpretation or something. And I think Mando got a lot of people starting to not only enjoy Star Wars again and start watching Star Wars again, but really start talking about Star Wars again, and not just about the Mandalorian, but everything that had come before. And then it opened the door for all of these other great shows and everything else that we've gotten. So all in all, yeah, I was a little slow to get on the train of the Mandalorian, but I got there.
I mean,
What about you,
and I'm
Goose?
glad that you got there,
Like-
because there's so much to love, specifically about season 1. Because
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I know I was on the train. I was so excited for it, because you were talking about practical effects, and it's one of those things where I don't want to disparage digital effects, because
Of course, yeah.
they're
Mhm.
they're incredible visual effects everywhere,
Sure.
especially like the ones that
Yeah.
we're not noticing in everywhere. So I think that it's taken a minute for like the industry to figure out it's not one or the other. It's like it's holding
Using them
hands
together.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Mhm.
realizing that they complement each other.
Mhm.
And I think Mando in a lot of ways was kind of that stepping stone, right? To realizing lots of different visions, because from the trailer it kind of removed the veneer of digitalness that the prequels had, and like took it down to that gritty level. Everyone was wondering what a Star Wars show could look like, and Mando proved that it could
Yeah.
look cinematic. And in a lot
Yeah.
of ways, it also fulfilled George's vision, right? Of
Yep.
it's just like George wanted to have all these digital landscapes around actors, and he had blue screens and green screens in
Right.
the 90s and early 2000s when he was making the prequels, and he was trying to do that when he was trying to do his Underworld show, but the technology just wasn't there. In a way, like Mando kind of fulfilled George's vision of like,
Yep.
okay,
Combination of
this
Jim
is-
Henson puppets with CGI.
and
Yeah.
here's this digital production all of a sudden where you
Mhm.
can kind of do everything and kind of coordinate all your different art and digital departments to create magic basically on screen. So bringing Phil Tippett to do puppets, having John Knoll do like the a new Dykstra flex to shoot the Razor Crest and everything. It was just magic in a bottle, and it also began something that a lot of us have been wanting to see for so long in the new canon. We've seen a lot of this in Legends, but in the new canon, like, no one really knows what the post Return of the Jedi world looked like.
Yeah.
And Mando was our first glimpse into it, because Force Awakens is 30 years after it, but what happened in the in between? And
Right.
Mando started to give us those answers. So it was
We get some Wild West in Star Wars,
exactly
and beautiful scarves, and
the scarves are next level. Like, every costume is improved. There's a scarf, and Boba Fett's rearmored look is just evidence of that.
Listen, Cobb Vanth, man. Cobb Vanth.
He's out there. He's out there.
He's out there.
He's healing in a Bacta
Yeah.
tank, and
He's having a lot of flashbacks right now.
hopefully good ones.
Well,
We want
see.
him to have pleasant dreams.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Mando fulfilled promises. It kind of brought things back to the hero's journey. Just like George did with the original trilogy of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. And we had a really wonderful episode with Ty Black from Wit and Folly, where we talked about the mythic aspect of Mandalorian and like how it follows the kind of the hero's journey structure in a very beautiful way. And as the seasons have progressed, we can discuss like how close or far is veered from it, and we'll kind of get to that. But that season 1, I think it was absolute perfection.
So good.
It was kind of also a break from like serialized TV, in that this show was, episodic. It's like Adventure of the Week, and you can kind of jump in whenever you want and still have fun. So it provided,
and they
us
felt
with,
like complete stories. Also, it's not just
And despite them being short episodes, they feel like complete episodes.
Yeah.
And Baby Yoda, Werner Herzog. I never knew Werner Herzog was going to be in a Star Wars. I never knew that there was going to be a Baby Yoda. I never knew that Taika Waititi was going to be in Star Wars either. And
IG-11,
IG-11, Taika Waititi, R.I.P. Although maybe not. We'll see in Mando and Grogu. We'll speculate.
He's back as IG-12.
Exactly, but in what capacity?
And what? We'll see.
But the only bad thing I would say about Baby Yoda is that it created mass confusion for the normies, being like, "Is this a Yoda origin story? Like, where?
I think
where is this?
It's still there. That aspect
it's still there.
It's
my
still there.
girlfriend asked me
yeah.
that like last week.
Yeah.
Is this movie like Yoda? And I'm just like, no. He's just called the Baby Yoda.
Can I go ahead and speculate?
Yes, please.
Let's go.
Just a crazy irresponsible. This is totally irresponsible. So do not expect this. Okay.
We love these.
Okay. Do it with open hands. But I would not be shocked if Grogu has a scene with a Force Ghost Yoda to help clarify that for people.
And Yaddle just shows up too.
Why not?
A little Holy Trinity. Holy Trinity. In the name of the Yoda, of the Yaddle, and the baby Grogu. There we go.
We have something to tell you, Grogu.
It's like, move over, Christianity. We got some little green friends here.
Yeah. I don't know. Don't expect that, but I'm just saying I would not be shocked.
I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I feel like and it's one thing that I really loved about how Star Wars has been promoting their material is we get hyped about it, but they don't really reveal about a lot what the story is going to be, what the plot is going to be. And a lot of the scenes that are really impactful, we kind of see them pretty early on. So there's a lot of surprises, but the way they're setting it up, it's very much about kind of the father-son relationship between them. And there's a lot of mystery to Grogu's past that he just straight up just doesn't remember and doesn't know. And I feel like him knowing himself is a very Star Wars story always. And especially as he's coming to terms with, being Din Djarin's son, who is a Mandalorian, but he wasn't born a Mandalorian. He was adopted into that culture as well. So I think the play between them as they kind of find each other is going to be really, if they lean into it, which I hope so, because it's a character-driven story. And I feel like it's going to be really important for them to grow together as they kind of know more about themselves. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for Yoda to show up as a Force Ghost. I would not be against it.
What I think about this, I think it's really interesting. I'm not sold on Force Ghost Yoda. But
you
I
could
will
just say no.
but I will
Yeah.
tell you what
It's the whole, I don't want Luke to show up in the show, and then he shows up and like, yes.
Exactly.
will-
Same thing.
Well, I'm gonna. That's exactly what I was
Same
gonna
thing.
go into. I do think that Nana, you're absolutely right about the trailers haven't revealed to us anything about the movie.
Yeah.
Most of the trailers are, I think, like maybe like it's the first 25 minutes that have already been screened.
We know it's
on
the
IMAX.
bounty hunter cards. They're bounty hunting mean people. Grogu's getting awesome Beskar armor, but that's about it.
So there's definitely a lot of surprises, and I think that based on some of the teases that we've gotten, interviews that everyone has been saying, like the story is gonna grow in a surprising way, and I hope so, honestly, because as we've talked on the channel before, like I'm not too hyped for this movie, to be honest. I'm hyped for Star Wars. I always want to look forward to new Star Wars, but Mando Grogu, that wasn't the one that I would have expected. Seemed very
especially
corporate
because
synergy.
it works so well as a TV show.
Yeah,
exactly,
for sure.
So but going back to like the surprises, I think like there's a lot of things that are loose threads that were established in seasons 2 and 3 that just weren't tied up neatly, and to kind of like going back and forth between the seasons and the movie, right? Like I know I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
It will make sense. I promise.
This is my fault. Yeah, go ahead.
It will make sense. I promise. Season 2 ends with Luke Skywalker. Spoiler alert for everyone that like.
Oh my god!
Luke Skywalker showing up. We know that there's a separation between the father and the son, so that Grogu can find his Jedi journey. Training, which doesn't even happen in the Mandalorian. Happens in Book of Boba Fett, which is bizarre. We can talk about it if we want later. But then
it just happens to be the best episodes of Book of Boba Fett. Sadly, but true.
Seriously.
Still underrated show.
It is. I'm a big fan, but
I still support that show. But there's like lots of story points with the separation between Grogu and Mando that didn't have the time to breathe, so that we can like see what separation means, what it means for Grogu to find himself without his father, what it means to come together, and then with season 3, which I'm almost 100% sure that it was not as structured as it maybe could have been because of this whole debacle with Gina Carano, she who will not be named, and the collapse of Rangers of the New Republic. I think
that's part of it. I think Last of Us is also part of that.
That makes sense, because
I think he was filming.
Busy.
Yeah, he wasn't even there.
So I mean that just makes it make more sense. So I think that
two big things.
So the show was, I think, in a trajectory to explore a lot of things that it didn't have time to get to, and I just needed to. And maybe this was Disney corporate being like, you gotta Mandoverse this, you gotta pump out Book of Boba Fett,
more.
Put Ahsoka, like, okay, now let's tie all these things into the Filoni Thrawn movie, which who knows if it's gonna happen anymore. So so like there's a lot of these threads that weren't brought together, and I think that this movie in a lot of ways is gonna like take that and re-explore it. And I think that with Grogu being separated from Din again, it's gonna be time for him to kind of do a lot of this mystical Force stuff that Star Wars loves connecting. Maybe it's not with Force Ghost Yoda, but he's gonna be around with Rey in a couple decades. It's bound to happen. So
maybe
my unhinged version of a theory is like, what if there's like a Palpatine strand cast? I don't know if Rey's parents are young enough at this point to have that encounter, but something that kind of to kind of connect to that, so that it's just like this point that eventually leads to Rey and her New Jedi Order movie or something. But there's something there, I think, for mystical baby Yoda, baby Grogu action that we've yet to see. I'm not sure if Luke's in it either, but like there's a lot of stuff that we don't know that's gonna happen.
We've opened this door already.
You opened the door.
My bad.
Keep it open.
On our podcast, we had talked about, and Mac had said this, just because we were doing the exact same thing we're doing right now, where we're just kind of like talking it out, and he had said something like, "What we know, we gain some sort of information about Grogu's past in every season. We learn something new, And I'm kind of expecting that in the movie as well. We learn something new. I would not be shocked if, so maybe it's not even like a Force Ghost Yoda that he talks to, but we might even get a scene of Yoda and a even younger baby Grogu.
A baby. Yeah.
Before Order 66. And like, it's because, you know, he has these like his memories blocked or whatever. Maybe even potentially like Yoda has imparted something to Grogu that's super important.
You're right. We do have the Yoda puppet from the Acolyte.
It's species related, even maybe like it's a species thing that you could do that
like historical memories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so there's something really important that Grogu doesn't even know that he knows, you know, that maybe even Yoda gave to him. So there's different ways you could do that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited. I think I've been really honed in on the fact of like, why was he on Arvala 7 in the very first episode anyway? It seems like he was in the hands of the Underworld and we're dealing with the Underworld in this movie. Is there a connection between the Hutts and why Grogu was there in the very first episode of The Mandalorian? Are we going all the way back and learning how he got there? I don't know, but I think that would be a really cool thing to explore.
Nani, react. You're thinking.
No, I think that would be really cool. I mean, there's really so much that you can do. They've shown us so far, and as you were saying, the episodes were actually pretty short, but they packed a lot of story.
Yep.
So, you know, with the time that they had to plan this out, to, you know, take into consideration maybe stories that they weren't able to get done in season 3, and, you know, with the length of the film, I feel like they could pack in a lot of story into this. So I think we might be getting hoodwinked into think that it's just going to be like cool Star Wars action and, you know, back to the movies and everything. But at the same time, history, you know, surprises.
We'll speaking of surprises, I gotta
the actual mysteries of the Star Wars universe. Revealed during Mando and Grogu. You know,
could you imagine?
I think it's a good platform to do it. And, you know, Favreau's always been a really good storyteller. So I think there's a lot of room for a lot of reveals and a lot of story to get done. And, you know, if you're going all the way back to the Hutts, then you could. I mean, like you were saying, they've been really piecemeal about giving us little pieces of his history. So I guess it depends on what they want to do with the characters moving forward. Like, it's this gonna be it? Are they gonna keep doing more shows? Are they gonna integrate him with the other shows? Like, I think it's gonna come down to what their plan is for, you know, the Mandoverse going forward. So,
I mean, you both are talking about Grogu's history, and we both know that Filoni and Favreau love to bash their toys together from different media. What if, you know, we already saw Ahmed Best come back to be Kelleran Beck and rescue Grogu? Who says that he's not hiding out in Naboo with Jar Jar? And
I think that's exactly where he went next.
And we have Jar Jar, an old Jar Jar and an old Kelleran Beck show up again to maybe save Grogu again. I know there's too many Jedi Purge survivors, but what's one more? Especially when it's Ahmed Best.
Right.
Do you know? I think enough time has passed where people will be excited to see Jar Jar back on screen. So,
except my canon is that Jar Jar is Jar Jar, so I'm not gonna agree with that.
That's in Lego. That's in Lego,
I
and
don't care.
that's canon
Jar Jar.
adjacent.
Canon adjacent.
Canon adjacent.
No, yeah, I think so. I think what we'll probably get is like another puzzle piece to Grogu's past, but I don't know if we'll get the whole story just yet, because even though I'm not so sure that New Republic Dave Filoni movie is happening, he's gonna wrap up the story either through TV show or a movie. Like, that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
we will get an ending to this story. I could totally see where, like, we open the door to something that's potentially bigger, but we don't deal with it in this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's maybe it's connected to Peridia and the Mortis gods, and that's not what this movie's about. But we could we could crack the door open just a little bit
Yeah.
and maybe give a hint and then move on because, for a lot of people, this is going to be their very first Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's super exciting. So I don't know if you want to overwhelm them with like
Yeah.
lore.
Yeah, exactly. So
which was
Yeah.
a problem for Ahsoka. Let's be
Sure.
honest. Like for all of us, we know all this shit. We're nerds. We
Yeah.
watch
But everybody was
everything.
like, what?
what is
But
going
The
on?
world between worlds? What is
like,
happening?
It's
Yeah.
like, what's in Ahsoka? My barometer is always my partner. I always like to watch things with her and like see what a reg thinks of Star Wars. And we were watching Andor. She loved it. Obi-Wan Kenobi. She understood.
Sure.
And we were watching Ahsoka, and she's like, "What's happening? Like, why? Like, why is the orange lady talking to the green lady? And like, why do I care about this lost boy with the space little turtle boys?" It's like, what? I was just like, okay, I understand now why people might say that you need a lot of backstory for the show, and Mando and Grogu clearly shouldn't run into that, especially for a movie, because the advantage of a show, you can just turn it off, go back, rewatch, and then come back. Once you're in a movie, you're there. You have to get it. So it's an interesting point because Mando has been setting itself up to grow so expansively, which is, an issue that I have with season 2 and specifically season 3 is it getting too big for what the story should be, right? It should be
And how it
Mando
started.
and Grogu.
Yeah.
And it just got so big because, it's connecting to Ahsoka. It was going to go into Rangers of the New Republic. It was going to go in all these different directions that now, is this movie going to pick up any of that? Do you guys think that with Ahsoka season 2 coming in and we know Thrawn's back in the galaxy, do we think that this movie's going to present any of those things, kind of like backdoor mini pilots for Ahsoka season 2 now that we know that's coming out in early 2027? Alex, since you kind of like to go crazy with us here, why don't you try to
It's great.
do you think that Thrawn's gonna be in this?
So I don't think he will be. If he is in it, I don't think he's going to be like in it a lot. I think it's going to be like a Thanos type reveal at the end, where it's like, oh, this big blue guy is pulling the strings. Because again, there's going to be a lot of people who just like see there's a new Star Wars movie out. I'm going to go see that, and they have not watched The Mandalorian or Ahsoka or anything. And so you've got to present it in a way, if you're going to do that, to where they get it. And so but I also think you can't ignore everyone who's been on the journey since 2019, right? Like you can't just pretend like none of that's happened. So it's a
hard balancing act.
It is. So I think they'll nail it. I have full confidence in Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni to do that. I think Ahsoka was a little insider baseball. I think that's okay sometimes. You don't want everything to be that way. I think sometimes it is good to have things that are like, hey, this is for the hardcore fan, and that's okay. But for this, you can't do that. So I think you gotta find a really good balance. I wouldn't be shocked if Thrawn is in this, but he won't be in it long if he is.
Nani, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, like I was saying, it is a hard balancing act because, like we were talking about, a lot of people who started into Mandalorian, that's the first thing they ever saw, Star Wars. So, and even if they love The Mandalorian, doesn't mean they've watched anything else. So, the Mandoverse is their universe. That's it. They don't necessarily want to know anything else that's going on. So you have to, make those fans happy. You kind of have to make us hardcore fans happy because we don't necessarily want the movie to be a recap of everything that's happened before. You want to be surprised, with new things, but you also don't want to push away new fans because it is the first film since Rise and you need to captivate new audiences. So I think Favreau's been really good at captivating new audiences. I mean, I never would have thought that Iron Man was going to be a thing. Honestly, when they first announced it, I was like, I don't even care about Iron Man. What the hell? I don't even care that much about Marvel, DC, all the way. And then suddenly it's like, oh my God, what? What? So I feel like they are going to pull it off. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to. It's going to be tough. But I think it is going to have to be a combination. There's going to have to be some nostalgia there. They're going to have to, develop a story that's compelling, even if you don't know all the elements that are going on. So I think that's why they're going to lean very hard into like the father-son relationship, because everybody gets that. Star Wars has always found family, which I think we're going to get a lot of that. And we know that Star Wars is going to keep going, and the Filoni-verse is going to keep happening. So...
Yeah, especially now that he's president. It's like
yeah,
we can do this
do
forever.
what I want.
Yeah.
So I think there will be a lot of, not necessarily cameos but just, like elements thrown in there that don't necessarily detract from the story, but us nerds will pick up on and view favorably. So I think if all of those elements hit, and at the end of the day, if the acting's good, if the visual's good, if the sound's good, if the story's there, it's going to be successful. So obviously this is Star Wars and people are going to hate because, it's always going to happen. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a fun time in the movie theaters. And after watching it, because I'm just going to watch it for fun first, I can sit down again and then, analyze it, and then we can talk about it again. But I think it's just great to have Star Wars back in the big theater, because I think Star Wars, as fun as I've had with the TV shows and everything, they should all be released in the big screen, because Star Wars is fun when you share it with other people.
100%.
And when you hear everybody's reactions and when you get to see it in the big screen. So I think it's just going to be great to be back in the movies watching Star Wars.
The only issue that I have with Thrawn is that I love Thrawn.
I know,
I'm very
you're a
excited.
huge fan.
I'm very excited for his Akbar showdown on Ahsoka season 2, but I'm concerned that they're gonna do a solo, right? Because Star Wars is not a post-credit scene kind of franchise.
Like Maul.
It can't be exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. It can't be like Marvel, because it needs to be Star Wars.
Right.
And I think that was the problem that the Mandoverse started having, is that it was trying to be something that maybe Star Wars isn't. And Solo had the Thanos thing, right? It's just like, well, instead of having a post-credit scene, we're just gonna have it right before the movie ends. It's kind of like a little tease for something that we're gonna do, and like, here's this big bad reveal that we're gonna continue in the next movie, and then it didn't land because nothing happened. We have to wait until Maul. To get some payoff. But I'm afraid that in a film, the Thanos reveal in the Marvel films worked because there was a Marvel film that paid it off.
In 6 months. Yeah.
Infinity War.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Well, because it was planned. What makes you think this hasn't been thoroughly planned out?
Well, but that's my thing. If Thrawn shows up in this movie as like the big thing that's happening next, and all of a sudden the big thing that's next is just a TV show, like it all of a sudden is like the dissonance, right? Of like, even because to Marvel's credit, the tiers of film and TV shows, they cross over, but the things that happen in the TV shows,
the main storyline still the main storyline. Yeah.
Right. You can't go like your big bad and all of a sudden your big bad goes down into TV
to
show.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah.
It's kind of like, kind of what happened with Ant-Man and Quantumania. It's just like, here's, oh my God, I forgot his name. Here's Kang the Conqueror, but Ant-Man's going to defeat him. It's just like, wait, what happened here?
I
thought
pretty
he was
fast.
supposed to be he's supposed to be the big guy. So that's my concern, that, and if it's just like a cameo, it's like, is Thrawn just gonna be like a quick cameo like in this movie? So I kind of prefer that.
So you're like, he deserves better.
I'm fine with the Shadow Council. We keep the Shadow Council from season 3, which was badass. We got Paleon, which gonna be awesome for everyone to just like have him back, tie it back to the original Thrawn trilogy.
All 12 of us.
Exactly. It's like, there's dozens of us. Dozens. So I think that's good enough. Maybe a patch of the 7th Fleet or something like that. And then if maybe a name drop. But the Mando and Grogu movie is about
You're
Mando
not
and
expecting
Grogu.
the entire Chiss ascendancy to show up at the end of this movie?
If this were up to me, where's Eli Vanto? Okay, we're gonna hard left. We're gonna Eli Vanto. Where's Admiral Aralani? Like, exactly. I need to know. I need to know I love those ascendancy novels.
Yeah.
I love those Thrawn books. So like, I really want Shiz's ascendancy, but
Hey, listen,
it's
one
not. It's
day,
not in the cards. It's not in the back deck. You know?
Gustavo, one day we're going to get a Timothy Zahn trilogy about Ezra and Thrawn
I'm convinced.
on Peredia. So that's coming one day.
I
That's
know
coming.
he's doing it. He has to.
It's going to happen.
Like he keeps being coy about not writing. It's like, come on, man, you have to
We
at least
know.
write. I know that Filoni wants to own it and do his own thing with it, but come on,
We know. We know.
we
We know
know.
what you're doing.
But
We know what you're
those are my 2 cents on Thrawn, and if you get me going, I'll keep going. But Rotta the Hutt. Who knew he was gonna come back? Like
I did. No, I'm just kidding.
Nanny,
I was for a second like, really?
I was like, damn,
Really?
I hope you put it on Polymarket, because otherwise you're rich right now.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing about Rotta. I think people need to prepare themselves for him to be like a major character in this movie. In a
Jeremy
way,
Allen White.
well, yes, Jeremy Allen White, but in a way that I think might be the heart of the movie, because I could totally see a storyline where Grogu's relationship with Din is paralleled with Rada's relationship or lack of relationship with Jabba. And I think that's a really we've been talking about how do you get a more general audience invested in this. Everybody knows who Jabba the Hutt is. Everybody knows who Jabba the Hutt is. So to have this is his son. Totally. I'm bought in. I'm with this. So I think there's like I could totally see a world where a lot of the heart of the movie is through Rotta and like maybe trying to live up to a legacy that Jabba had set for him, and maybe like the classic, "No, Dad, I want to be a gladiator," or whatever it is.
You'll be a
You
crime
have to be a
lord.
mob boss.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, I want to fight. So whatever it is, I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but it's I think people need to prepare themselves for Rotta to like really capture your heart in this movie. They've been kind of holding him back a little bit in the marketing, and just it makes it seem like he's only in that gladiator scene. I think he's in this movie a lot more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, and from what we've seen from everybody that has been very privileged to go to the LA warehouse thing that a couple of our friends have done, we know that there's a little maquette of Rotta the Hutt as a hutlet or a sluglet. I don't know what the correct term is these days.
Yeah.
Which, who knew a little baby slug could rival cuteness to Baby Yoda?
He's amazing.
And I'm like, why would you make that? Why would you make that?
And Jon Favreau hand painted it.
It's like, you don't do that.
You don't do that for fun.
You don't do that if Jabba the Hutt's not in this movie.
So we've got to ask the question then. If we're seeing Baby Rotta, is there a flashback of
Ahsoka and Obi-Wan? I don't know if, bro. Nani, what do you think? I think we're going off the rails.
We're going off the rails, but that's what's fun about talking.
Sure.
The irresponsible speculations are the best part. I mean, it's stinky, man. I don't know.
They're not, I don't think they're gonna utter that.
Stinky?
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna say that. Or maybe they will. Who knows? They're crazy enough.
They're crazy enough. I mean, I think I hadn't actually thought about it that Rotta the Hutt would be a main character, but now that you speak about it that way, Alex, it honestly makes a lot of sense, because you do have that connection to everybody knows who Jabba the Hutt is.
Yeah.
Like, even if you haven't seen Star Wars, you have an image of Leia in the bikini strapped to Jabba. Like, if you agree with that image or not, it's there. It's in our collective subconscious. So, and I like the idea of parallels, because what I wanted to see was relationships, father and son, and this would be a negative, example of that. And not necessarily that I want to be a warrior. Maybe it's a form of punishment, like you denied your, future, now you become a slave, because if we're going Roman slaves, they were Roman gladiators were slaves, so
right.
So it's an interesting perspective, and I think we would be surprised. I don't know if would. That's the thing. If we're gonna go with nostalgia, you have to pick and choose, and not necessarily bringing Ahsoka is gonna work when we were already discussing that Ahsoka is not a well-known character for the normies to
Sure.
begin with. So if you add,
But Jabba is.
but Jabba is. But then if you want to do a combination of, with Jabba and Ahsoka, because the show's coming, the second season. So if it's done correctly, it could work. Obviously, anytime you're gonna do Obi-Wan's gonna work. We were talking about Mystic Force. I'm always a Qui-Gon fan. Like anytime you're gonna give me a Qui-Gon, I'm all there for it.
We're going crazy.
So,
Just bring everybody.
everybody's
Bring
crazy.
everybody.
Everybody's crazy. I mean, we see that Grogu meditating, so it opens the door for having some weird stuff in this
Anything can
movie.
happen.
So
I'm still 100% convinced that giant frog thing that Grogu talks in the trailer.
you say it's
is
Mark Hamill's voice. I
voiced
don't
by
think so.
Mark Hamill.
I don't think so.
I'm right or die on that one. Like I hear it.
I can see that actually.
I can hear Mark's voice. He's a voice actor.
Okay, let's talk about that
Sure.
character real quick, if you want to.
He's
Yes!
reverse Yoda.
Okay.
I mean, not
Well,
reverse
that's
Yoda. He is
cool.
Yoda.
That's it seems that way, that Grogu's going to have kind of a Luke Skywalker on Dagobah moment with this character. Literally, that character is saying Yoda's lines to Grogu from The Empire Strikes Back. And so, I think the question also should be asked of like, who is this person? Who
Right.
is he an Order 66 survivor? Is it possible he's a Jedi? Or is it more of a Maz Kanata situation
exactly
where
what I was
it's
gonna say.
where
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
someone who is aware of the Force, or and has that knowledge, but not necessarily a Jedi? Or
What if it's the Bendu, bro? What if it's
The
Bendu
do we
like,
know? Do we know that the
appear
Bendu
in
always
different
has to look?
forms?
Yeah. Do we know that he
Yes.
has to look like that?
I love that idea. Yeah, no, there's no rules to the Bendu. The Bendu
There's
can
no rules.
fly. It's just, like who? It can turn into a
and
cloud.
when's the last time we saw the Bendu with Thrawn? So it's
Full
Ugh.
circle.
We're
Everything's
becoming
connected.
very irresponsible right now.
We have definitely got our Beskar tinfoil on
we are
right now.
We are 1 week away from the release of The Mandalorian and Grogu. Releases in the theaters. I was going to say September, May 22nd. So I feel like as the date approaches,
We get crazier.
Yeah,
The collective craziness just.
the responsibility collapses, and it's just we're in the mall storm here. We're in the
Yeah.
mall storm, and there's just it's pulling us in. It's pulling us
Yeah.
in, and no hyperdrive can break us from it.
Yeah.
But we've been talking a lot about Mando and Grogu, so we're gonna continue talking about it as we finally see the movie pretty soon. But before we wrap up, Alex, give us like your expectations for what you hope to see
Sure.
and what your hopes in general are for this movie, Mandalorian Grogu, as we approach the release.
Yeah, I think this movie is going to surprise a lot of people. I think it's going to be a lot better than, I think some people are like, I don't know. And then when you watch it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is actually really good. I think that's going to be the reaction for a lot of people. And I'm not expecting we've been speculating a lot on this episode and going out there. I'm not expecting any of that. I think it'd be super cool if stuff like that happened. I think this is going to be a really fun Star Wars, almost Indiana Jones-esque type adventure.
Which I'm okay with.
Yeah, and I'm totally good with that. And I think, as we start to reintroduce Star Wars back into theaters, Starfighters next year, 50th anniversary, we're getting the original New Hope in theaters as well. I think this is a good primer for all of what's coming next year, right? Like, hey, remember, we're Star Wars and we're number one, and this is going to be all about fun and having a good time with your family. And I think that's going to be another aspect that's going to be really fun, is like you can bring everybody to watch this, and I think that's going to be really, really cool. In terms of the story, I think Rotta is going to be a really big aspect of it. I got my eyes on Sigourney Weaver's character, Colonel Ward. I don't know
I've
about her.
been seeing some.
You don't cast
people
Sigourney
speculate.
Weaver.
Exactly.
For no reason.
I'm on to you. So I'm looking at her, and then I am gonna call it. I think we do see Thrawn at the end.
Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna say yes to that.
You're gonna say yes. Okay.
Okay, that's good. Nani, what
Interesting.
about
Very
you?
interesting.
Final thoughts and hopes for Mando and Grogu.
Yeah, so I'm just really excited to go see a Star Wars movie in the theaters for the first time in the longest time. So that's definitely a plus right there. I think like what you were saying, Alex, I've been one of those people that wasn't necessarily that excited about it, but I think it will surprise us. And honestly, I prefer going in with lower expectations and being
Yes.
surprised than the other way around. So I hope everybody shows up to watch this movie regardless of your feelings.
Correct. We need a win. Yeah.
We need a win. I mean, Grogu is the cutest thing of all time, and from the little glimpses we've gotten, he looks amazing. I think there's going to be a lot of kind of gut wrenching introspection as well, because as we've seen already from the trailer, like Mando's getting his helmet removed way more than we've ever seen.
Mhm.
So I think there's going to be a lot of kind of, am I really attached to this way of life? Do I want to
Yeah.
live in a different way? As he and Grogu, learn from each other. And yeah, I'm just looking for fun. I'm not sure about Thrawn. I expect there will definitely be people that we are either talked about today or just somebody else come kind of out of left field. We will have someone showing up. I think we will see some more of the kind of mystic side of the Force. I like that some of these things are trying to lean more toward it to see if like Star Wars fans can actually deal with it, in live action, not just in animation, because animation does lean way more towards the mystic side of the Force. And I feel like we do need a little bit more of it into the live action because it's so cool. The mystic stuff and the weird stuff is fantastic. So, so I hope that we slowly start to trickle that into the live action. And I don't know. I think we already speculated enough and we're super irresponsible. So we can have a post chat after it actually happens and see.
Sorry, guys.
Make the list and see. Make the bingo card and see how many. We might just
None
have
of
the
this
center,
stuff happened.
and it's just
The Mandalorian and Grogu were in it. That's all we got right.
We nailed it. Nailed it.
Yeah, they were in the title. What about you, Goose?
I from day one, I have been Mr. Poopy Pants about it, being like, this is Disney corporate cynicism, and we need to appeal to the least common denominator. And what do moms know? They know Baby Yoda. So we need to put his little green baby ass up on the big screen so that people can come out.
Yeah, man.
But despite that,
sell some toys.
You can, both two things can be true, right? Like that could be
not mutually exclusive.
A truism of how the movie industry and decisions were made at Disney, because I think that was a Disney thing and not a Lucasfilm thing, but that's beside the point. But it can also be a good movie, right? And despite my apprehensions about it, I want Star Wars to succeed. I want Star Wars to be great. I want Star Wars to be fun. And I want everyone to just have fun with it. So as much as I'm apprehensive or maybe cynical about this movie, I still want to have fun and I still want it to be good and I want to be surprised the same way I was surprised with Andor when I was cynical about like, why do we even need the show, and it ended up being one of my favorite Star Wars things ever. So
this is art.
Exactly.
It's fun.
Yeah.
So that's what I hope for Mando and Grogu, that it kind of captures the magic that season 1 had and just multiplies it by IMAX levels of entertainment.
Well, and like Alex was saying, like for us, it was the original trilogy. For other people, it was the prequels. For others, with the sequels. But I think a whole generation of kids, this is going to be the first Star Wars movie they ever watched. So it's going to be great to watch the theater full of families, like enjoying Star Wars, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to listen to Ludwig Göransson's score for Star Wars. I think that one of the we didn't talk about it before when we were talking about one of the triumphs of season 1, but one of the great things is just like no one knew what a non-John Williams score really was,
sounded like,
especially for a TV show, and Ludwig just kind of reinvented the musical landscape for Star Wars, and that Mandalorian theme is
amazing,
incredible. Yeah. So what's he gonna do with the movie? I just hope it's incredible. I mean, I know it'll be incredible,
be.
and I hope that I hope this
Oh, yeah.
movie just wins. Get that man Oscar #4 for the Mandalorian and Grogu. That's something that I'm definitely rooting for. But get your bingo cards ready. See like how many we get. Get your, this is a non-sponsored segment, so this is not sponsored, but get your poly market bets in just in case. Maybe you'll make off like a bandit. But until then, stay tuned, for our coverage of the the movie when it comes out next week. We'll be very excited to talk about it and share our thoughts. But before we leave, Alex, thank you so much for joining us, and
This was great.
and taking us all over from the unknown regions to Peridia
Sorry.
and back.
No, it was great. It was
very,
great.
very happy to go a little insane today. But before we sign off, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're up to and where we can find you and what Children of the Watch are doing these days?
For sure. So we've been covering, of course, Maul Shadow Lord, and then doing Mandalorian and Grogu hype episodes, and now we're all totally focused on the Mandalorian and Grogu. We've got another episode coming up this week, a voicemail hotline episode where you can call in with your thoughts and your theories, and we'll listen to them and respond to those. That's happening later this week. And then next week, we have our final prediction show. And then Thursday, right after we watch the movie, Mac and I are going to record our instant reaction. So that will be late Thursday night, early Friday morning. You'd be able to listen to that after you watch the movie. So that's what we've got going on. We're full into the Mandalorian and Grogu. We're ready, man. And you can follow us over on our social media accounts. We're on all of them but Facebook at cotwatch. You can follow us over there and have a good time.
Perfect. And we, as always, will leave links down in the description below to make everything easier for everyone to follow you. Please, if you haven't, make sure to follow Alex and Children of the Watch. They're incredible. Group A is the best group. No disrespect to Group B, but all the MVPs were on Group A. So if you haven't followed Children of the Watch, please make sure to do that. So thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you for having me on. This has been so much fun. I've got even more excited for this movie, and I don't think I can get any more excited for it. So,
Well, I'm really glad we were able to get you more excited. The irresponsible speculation this episode was so good. I bet we're gonna hit none of them, but it's great to talk about. I think this is the best part about Star Wars, just sitting around with friends and trying to figure out what's gonna happen.
Yep.
So thank you so much for joining us. It was amazing. Please, everybody out there, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know if you agree with any of the craziness that we talked about today. Let us know about your own craziness. If you're looking forward to Mando and Grogu, if you're looking forward to anything else happening soon in Star Wars, like Ahsoka that we know is coming next year, and Starfighter, there's so much great Star Wars happening. It is a great time to be a nerd. So until next time, may the Force be with you.